To start with, we'll create a lakehouse item to store the AdventureWorks data. So you need to navigate to your workspace and select New. Then select More Options. In the new item creation screen, you're going to select Lakehouse under the Data Engineering category. Set the lakehouse name to AdventureWorks Lakehouse, and then you're going to click on Create. So well done, you've created your first lake house, and as you can see, it was incredibly simple to do. Make sure you are back in your workspace, the Udemy Quickstart training, and you'll notice that 3 items get created: a lake house, a SQL endpoint, and dataset default. So don't worry, you haven't created 3 lake houses. It's simply the way Microsoft is set up to allow you the flexibility to use different tools together. And I explain more about this in one of the last units in this course, where I recap these Microsoft Fabric concepts. And it really allows you to flex between Apache Spark, T-SQL, and some of the no-code options to manage your data in the Lakehouse. Now notice that you can navigate back into the Lakehouse editor for AdventureWorks Lakehouse, which is on the left-hand side of the screen. And you can also delete this from the pane. If you do delete this, you can access it by clicking back into your workspace and clicking on the Lakehouse. Once you're in the Lakehouse view, select New Data Flow Gen 2, either from the center of the screen or from Get Data, New Data Flow Gen 2. You'll be taken to a screen showing a Power Query view, as shown in the top left-hand corner. And you may be familiar with this layout if you've ever used it in Power BI Desktop or Excel. It gives you a no-code option for loading and transforming data. It's here we're going to load our data in, and if you wanted to, you could also transform your data in the same way that you might do in Excel and Power BI. So this is the place. We're not going to do any transformations today with our data set, but this is where you could do it. So to get data into your Lakehouse, you're going to click on Import from Excel, and we're going to go to the file path or URL in the link to file, and we're going to change the connection here. So find where you've saved the file, and then when you've done that, you can click on Select. Make sure in your connection, you might need to edit the connection. It should be set to organizational account, and you might need to sign in, and then click on Next after you've done this. In the list of options that you then get from the Excel workbook, the first 7 relate to the tables that exist in the workbook that we're working with, and the final 7 relate to the worksheets. So we're going to actually use the tables, and you can see they've got slightly different icons being set up. And then when you've done that, click on Create. You can see now that these files are being loaded, these data sets are being loaded into Microsoft Fabric, and you've got some blue icons showing. When all those blue marks have gone, it means that your data's fully been loaded, so it can just take a moment or 2 for that to happen. Once this has been loaded up, make sure you click on Sales Order, and then in the bottom right-hand side of the screen, you can see an area called Data Destination. Now, this has already chosen our Lakehouse automatically, and if you hover over it, you can see the default destination is the Lakehouse. You can see the workspace that Lakehouse is created in, what the Lakehouse is called, and what the update method is. But if we wanted to change any of those settings, we're just going to go through how to do it. Now, mine has automatically created this connection, so I get a cog, but if it hasn't done that for you, you might get a plus icon to go through the same process. So we're going to click on the cog, and we are going to go through these steps. The first one is the connection credentials. So again, just make sure you edit your connection, make sure this is connected to your profile, your organizational account, and then click on Next. You'll then want to ensure that you find the workspace that your Lakehouse is saved in, and then select it. So for us, it's Udemy Quickstart training, and we want the AdventureWorks Lakehouse. Now we're going to set the update method to replace, but notice you could also use append. Append will only bring in new data. Selecting the update method to replace deletes all your existing data and replaces it with the new data on each subsequent refresh. You also want to notice that Microsoft Fabric has come up with some suggestions around the column names. It doesn't like gaps being shown in the titles of the columns, so it will put something in to replace it. So you just click on Fix It. Should we fix them for you? And click on Fix It. And you will see that the destination column is updated with underscores, and then you can save settings. We're going to repeat the same thing for all of our other tables. And just note that you're going to have to fix those issues with each table. So I'm going to show on the screen now us going through the same thing for each of the tables that we've got, making sure we've added the credentials, set the location to the right place, and make sure we fix the issue with our column titles before we load it in. Once you've done this, select Publish to save your data flow. And we're going to publish now. And then you can exit the Power Query Online editor. At the moment, you can see a data flows staging lakehouse is created with the same 3 items. Please be aware that if you delete these, the data flow will stop working. There is some documentation online to suggest that Microsoft knows that there's an issue here and perhaps it should be hidden to end users. But for now, at the time of recording, you will see them. So if this is what you're experiencing too, be very careful. It will take a little bit of time for your data flow to finish running. You'll be able to see it whirring away in the refresh column. Once it has finished running, hover above the created data flow in your workspace and then select the ellipsis and the properties option. And we're going to change the name of the data flow to AdventureWorks Data Flow Lakehouse. And then we'll click on Save.